Hey guys, I'm Coach Michael Burt, the Super Coach, every single week coming into your life to multiply your life, your money, and your business. And one of our principles at Super Coach is we love to spend time with talent. And there's very few people out there in the world as talented as this guy right here, Stein. A lot of you know him from being a performance coach, 13 players in the NBA that he's coached, and lots more people. He's going to be joining us today, and we're going to be talking about how do you truly elevate, right? How do you break through ceilings? What's the crossover between sport and business and sport? How has he built such a huge following out there in the world? And he's spending 2 days with the Super Coach, and we're going to learn from each other. Alan, thanks for coming to Super Coach, man.
Shoot, I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So come on back, guys. We got a big show today. We're diving into some very big things. What about the science of confidence? How do you get it? How do you build it? How do you maintain it? How do you protect it once you've gotten it back? I'm Coach Michael Burt, and you're watching Super Coach. Hey guys, this is Coach Michael Burt. I am so glad you joined me for Super Coach. I believe a good coach can change your life. I believe a good coach will have conversations with you don't want to have, make you do some things you don't want to do, help you become something you didn't think you could become. You see, you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame. You can't reach your own potential without the help of another person helping you break through those ceilings of success. I'm Coach Michael Burt, and I'm going to find the kryptonite in your life, and I'm going to do it on this show, Super Coach. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Super Coach. You know, we believe everybody needs a good coach in life. We believe a good coach can change your life. And in the business world, I like to say that that people who have a coach earn 3 and 4 times the amount of money than people that don't. And I've been fortunate to come across very interesting people. You know, when I wrote the book Person of Interest, it was really about how you become the interesting person, a person that attracts. And somewhere along the way, this guy, Stein, picked up a copy of Person of Interest.
Sure did.
And was a good book for you.
Awesome book for me.
And because of that book, changed some things for you. You invited me to be on your podcast.
Yes.
And now we formed some partnership with each other. You flew to Tennessee today.
Sure have.
You're going to be with me on the road for the next 2 days. So, Alan, thank you for joining us. And tell the people that are out there, a lot of people know you. We got people in the studio today. There's lots of people following you because you are a person of interest.
Well, thank you.
I mean, in your space, you have really become an expert. And I was explaining to my wife last night who you were and you know what you've done and who you've worked with, and you've lived a fascinating life.
I have. I'm very thankful.
You really have. So tell the people that out there what you really do every day.
I've spent the last 20 years as a basketball performance coach, where my number one job is to help players improve their basketball athleticism, so their strength and conditioning, to help them run faster and jump higher. As I got older and more mature, I realized that the key to doing that was not what was in the body, what was actually in the mind.
Yes.
And being able to get them to change their mindset and break through different limits, have improved confidence, as you mentioned.
Yes.
And when they were able to do that, then they had the keys to the car. Then they could make the changes to their body rather easily. And the game of basketball has been unbelievably good to me.
Yes.
It's allowed me to meet some amazing people, go some amazing places, and have some amazing experiences. So I'll forever be indebted to the game of basketball,
right,
and look forward to taking the things that the game has taught me and sharing those with a wider audience and a wider scope. And to me, that's what my real purpose is.
Yeah, so tell people, there's been some big-time NBA players that you've worked with. Name some of those players so they would know.
Well, I'm born and raised in the Washington, D.C. area, which is probably one of the top 3 metropolitan areas for youth and high school basketball.
Yes.
I mean, the players that have come out of that area is immense. And I was able to work at 2 schools. One was Montrose Christian, which is where Kevin Durant went to high school.
Yes.
We had 5 or 6 other NBA players come out of there, Terrence Ross, Justin Anderson. And then I was able to work at DeMatha Catholic High School, which was just as prominent. And we had Victor Oladipo and the recent #1 pick in the NBA draft, which was Markelle Fultz. Markelle graduated from DeMatha 2 years ago.
Right.
He spent 1 year at Washington, and now he's in the NBA. And I don't say any of that because it was of my doing.
Right.
I was just a piece of the puzzle.
That's right.
It was because Mike Jones, the coach at DeMatha, is one of the finest coaches that I've ever met at any level, and he brings in quality young men. It's an all-boys school, quality young men to be a part of that program, and then he knows how to develop talent.
Right.
So I'm thankful to have been a little piece in the puzzle of some really great players,
Sure.
but certainly I'm way down on the pecking order of getting any credit for their success.
Sure. Well, I think a lot of times when I'm speaking, there's 3 categories that I say to a business if you're interested in growing. Number 1, you got to recruit and attract better talent. Step 1. Number 2, you have to coach and develop that talent. And who is better at coaching and developing that talent typically wins. Because on balance, I'm sure you've seen, lots of the talent is equal. in a lot of ways. So
sure.
who is really skilled at coaching and developing that talent? And then the business world's about retention of that talent. How do you hold on to that talent before someone else comes in and grabs that talent away from you, right?
Without question.
So let's talk about the crossover here, because you are now doing speaking. You're getting into corporate America.
Yes.
You're leveraging. And many years ago, probably 7 or 8 years ago, when I wrote a book called The Anatomy of Winning, I said there is a crossover between business and sport.
Huge crossover.
It's a collision.
Yes.
And what I would see in the sports world is, man, we need to understand business. The coaches need to understand business better, how to build followings, how to recruit, how to win people over, how to include people's talents, how to really build their own little empire, right?
Yep.
And I said the business world lacks intensity. They lack working toward a dominant focus. There's all these so what are you seeing that the business world needs to know from the sports world and vice versa?
Well, first and foremost, both require relentless preparation. You need to be unbelievably prepared. In sport, we're talking mind and body. More times than not in business, it's more of mind and the emotion, but both require preparation. You know, as a performance coach, my job was to help players run faster and jump higher. But basketball, as you know, as a coach, is not a speed game. It's played at a fast pace, but it's a starting and stopping game.
Yes.
It's a change of direction game. It's a reaction game. Well, so is business.
Right.
Business requires you being agile. Business requires you being able to make split-second decisions and being decisive with what you're going to do. It requires being able to pivot, in this case, pun intended.
Yes.
If whatever you're trying is not working, then you need to be able to make an educated pivot to do something else. So there's so much similarity. And both require confidence, as I know we're going to get into, and relentless, purposeful practice. If you want to be good at anything, you have to get reps. You have to get quality reps with purpose and intention. And I'm finding that even though I'm new to the corporate world, I'm finding that to be resonating with everyone that I work with.
Well, you mentioned a couple things that I think the business learner who's out there watching is critical. As we believed in probability, so we measured everything in the sports world. And we would change strategy based on the probability of something working.
Yeah.
And so we would chart every play that we ran, right? We would see which one scored the most. We'd go in at halftime, and I'd say which plays worked. Here's our script of plays we're running. In the business world, those are business strategies to get new customers. And the assistants would say 2, 4, and 5 worked 80% of the time. 1, 3, and 6 worked 20%. And I'd say, well, throw those out.
Right.
Well, I got into the business world, Alan, and here's what I quickly figured out. They were not charting their strategies, number one.
Right.
They didn't know what was working and what was not working, and they didn't know how to pivot. So in essence, they would just do the same strategy, even though it wasn't working, for a year, and go, well, I hope it works next quarter.
Right.
And I'm like, man, it's not going to work. You got to pivot here. And so you see that in the sports world, everything's measured. There's probability.
Yes.
We know what produces winning. We know, but the business world really lacks that, in my opinion, because they're not charting their success.
And analytics are huge.
Yes.
And whatever you measure is what you consider important
Right.
and what you're trying to change. I mean, the oldest adage to success I ever learned, and I learned this when I was really young, do more of what works, do less of what doesn't.
Right.
How simple is that concept?
know.
But you and I could walk outside of the studio right now and throw a rock, and we would hit someone that's continually doing something that does not work for
Right.
them, but they keep doing it. And they either do it because it's a bad habit, or they do it because they're completely unaware of the fact
There you go.
that it's not giving them the results.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever you want to be important and you're going to emphasize, you have to measure it. You know, I've seen you speak before, and you've talked about the 3 things when you were a coach that were most important to your winning.
Right.
You know, was making sure that the other team doesn't get very many second shots,
Right.
making sure you limit your turnovers. I mean, that stuff is vital.
Yeah.
So what did you practice? You practiced the stuff that
things.
you knew was going to help you win, and you got rid of all the extraneous fluff.
That's right.
And I'm finding that a lot of businesses, unfortunately, are spending time in the fluff zone, and they're spending time doing things that are not giving them the return that they need. That's one of the things that were so brilliant about Mike Jones' practices at DeMatha. There was no fluff.
Right.
You worked on exactly what you needed to work on to be successful on Tuesday and Friday nights when the lights came on and the cheerleaders started dancing. This is what we need to do. And his practices were really purposeful, very intense, and very game-like. Hence the reason there was a tremendous amount of transfer.
Yeah, and I think there's a business owner out there listening to us right now that's saying, I've been doing this and it's not working, and I needed to hear it. You know, my philosophy is you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame. The reason we need a good coach is because a good coach should find and fill our missing structures. And we all have missing structures, okay? So the people out there watching the show today, you got missing structures. You've been doing something that's not working, and you haven't pivoted to another strategy. Now, when we come back from the break, we're going to get into the science of confidence, because I think confidence is the memory of success. I think we can build it, we can maintain it, we can protect it, and we can get it back once it's lost. And there's not a person watching this show probably you and I too, that has not lost their confidence at some point.
Without question.
You know, and so it's very critical that you know how to get this asset back. It's either your greatest asset or your greatest liability. So how do we get it back quick? A lot of what you teach, the skill, confidence always follows skill. It always follows knowledge. It always follows preparation. So we're going to talk about the science of confidence when we come back. You're watching Super Coach. I'm Coach Burt and Alan Stein. Hey guys, Coach Michael Burt, the Super Coach, and man, am I excited to announce my second retreat date, Seaside, Florida, November 16th through the 19th. We have so much demand for going to Seaside, spending time masterminding, going deeper on your business, spending some one-to-one time, really dissecting everything from your explanation of service to your selling system, to your follow-up, to the experience. And I partnered with Scott Nagy, multi-millionaire who sold his business for millions of dollars, to be able to look at every business on business design. So this specific retreat is to go deeper on your business. Masterminds in the morning, right? Lunch together, dinner at the ocean. We're going to have fun and we're going to mix business and pleasure. Seaside, November 16th through the 19th. $2,500 gets you 2 people to go down there with us. I only have 8 rooms to sell. So take advantage, get in a relaxed state, go to Seaside with me. Let's retreat to attack. Hey guys, welcome back to Super Coach. Every week multiplying life, money, business. If you're not coming with me to Seaside, Florida, you really, really need to. A lot of people say, Coach, how can I get some of your personal time? How can I spend some time looking at my business? And we design those retreats. I call it retreat to attack. You know, we're going to retreat for a few days and we're going to really get going. We're going to look at every facet of your business. There's only a small group of people going, typically 8 to 10 bedrooms we have. So if you're interested in that, email info@coachburt.com. I would love to see you in Seaside, Florida with us and have some fun. Alan's going to try to come down there with us.
Do everything I can to be there.
That would be great.
Would love it.
That would be great. All right, we're talking Alan Stein and 15 players in the NBA, work with some of the top players in the world. You're now speaking. You're really a performance coach. And let's talk about confidence.
Yes.
Because I believe it's almost a science, right? And I believe confidence is either an asset or a liability.
Without question.
Confident people move forward. They take opportunity. They take risk. Insecure people always contract and retreat. And I always say when we're low on confidence, we go back to old habits and new ways, right? So talk about how do you build it? When you're working with a player, and I'm sure you've seen players lose it. Of course. Players that are big-time players.
Without question.
And
I've lost it several times in my life.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
and we get knocked down in life. And so we lose our swag. So talk about how you build that in a person, because a lot of people out there may be in that point right now and they're trying to get it back.
Well, Jay Billis of ESPN has been a longtime friend and a mentor to me, somebody I really trust and respect. And he told me, this would have been a decade ago, confidence comes from demonstrated performance.
Yes.
That the way you build confidence is you do what it is that you want to be able to do. And that, of course, starts in practice. That starts during the unseen hours that no one else is going to see, not when the lights and all these things are not on.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that confident people, their mindsets, their rituals, their disciplines, their habits, their routines during the unseen hours are different than everybody else's. Their confidence is built in those unseen hours. So when the lights come on and Stefan Curry's taking the court, he's built the confidence through the preparation and the work during the millions, in his case, of unseen hours to be able to produce then.
Yes.
So confidence is not something that you talk about. It's not something you can puff out your chest, and it's definitely not something you can just get in a moment's notice.
Right.
You have to earn confidence.
Right.
And what I find with young people today, there's another E word. It's entitlement.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they feel that they're entitled to be confident or successful on the court when they haven't earned the right to do that because they haven't put in the work to do that. When Stephen Curry hits a magical shot during a game, that's not the first time he's taken that shot. Right. He's taken that shot hundreds of thousands of times in empty gyms with no one watching to earn the ability to do something like that. So to me, that's the key to confidence.
You know, I love the unseen hours piece. I used to watch a player that I had who would show up on Sunday afternoons, and she'd come in her own, bring a boom box in those days, set it up, and work for 4 hours at game speed.
Yes.
And I would go up to the upstairs gym and look down on her and go, gosh, man, she had no idea I was watching her. And I'd be in my office and I'd walk up there and I'd say, she's the only player that ever comes in and does that. For hours. She shot 93% from the free throw line. Yeah. And I was sitting there going, you know, why does she shoot such a high percentage? That's the reason. And so I think you're right. I want the viewer to really get this. The unseen hours. You and I were talking about me building this business.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in my 9th year. typically 80-hour work weeks. When I was a coach, 80-hour work weeks to build something. And I do think there's a tipping point where it's that flywheel and the doom loop where you're practicing. And then one day you wake up and you're there.
Yeah.
And you're the best. And
Yes.
it's like, how did that happen?
Because you've earned it.
Hey, unseen hours.
You have time for a quick story?
Absolutely.
So in 2007, I was able to work the Kobe Bryant Skills Academy, and there was a player there as a college counselor, and it was Stefan Curry, who I've already alluded to. But now in 2007, Steph had just finished his freshman year at Davidson. So he wasn't the Stephen Curry that we're enamored with today.
Right.
He was relatively unknown at that time. In fact, a lot of the coaches there referred to him as Dell's son, didn't even call him Stefan.
Nice.
And what he lacked in physical stature and in resume, there were three things that he did that I knew he was going to be special. Now, I would never lie to anyone and say he's going to be arguably the best shooter in the history of the game. But there were three things that made him special. One, he was always the first player laced up before the workout and was taking game shots from game spots at game speed before the practice started. The other guys are walking around with their headphones and their flip-flops, very casual,
Yes.
waiting for the whistle to blow. He was already putting in work. Second thing that made him remarkable was, as you can appreciate, you've got a line of players working on an offensive move. If Steph did the move correctly, he got right back in line to repeat that. He wanted to be able to repeat a perfect rep. If he did anything incorrectly, his footwork was off, his mechanics were off, he took himself out of the drill, went over to the side, asked an assistant coach to come help him, and he would pantomime that movement on the side until he knew it, and only then would he get back in line. Because he knew that if he got in line and was doing reps incorrectly, that would do way more harm than good.
Right.
And then the last thing that absolutely blew my mind was, just based on proximity, I'd never met him before. He said, hey, would you mind rebounding for me? I don't leave the gym until I swish 5 free throws in a row. Now, you know, as a basketball coach, that's a pretty high standard to hold yourself to.
Right.
Making 5 in a row is really challenging for most players.
Right.
But swishing 5 in a row
Yes.
means you can swish 4 in a row, hit a little bit of rim on the 5th one, it still goes in, you're still 5 for 5, but that wasn't good enough for him.
Yeah.
And I believe that those rituals and mindsets and standards that he holds himself to, and I say holds in the present tense, because he's smart enough to know that whatever got him here is not going to be good enough to get him here.
Right.
So I don't know what his current standards are. They'd probably scare most people. But those standards and that attention to detail and preparation is why he's arguably the most confident basketball player on the planet right now.
Right.
He's never taken a shot that he didn't know for certain was going in.
Right.
And that confidence is all from that type of preparation. And that's 2007. So he's been doing that for 10 years.
Right.
And you know that he put in work for the 10 years to get to that point.
Right.
So Stephen Curry has been putting in work behind the scenes for 20 years.
Right.
So is it an accident that he goes out and performs the way that he does?
Right.
Of course not.
Right.
Is your business success an accident?
Right.
Absolutely not. There's
Right.
nothing haphazard about what you've done.
Right.
You've meticulously, behind the scenes, built your business and I'm sure have made mistakes. I'm sure have made pivots. But you've done all this stuff behind closed doors. And anyone that walks in and meets you today and says, well, Michael, you've been really lucky in your career,
Right.
that's disrespectful in my opinion.
Right.
And anyone that says, wow, Stephen Curry, man, that shot was luck, that is a disrespectful statement. There's nothing lucky about anything that young man does because it all comes from preparation.
Well, you know, something you said triggered, and I used this in my talk today when I was speaking to financial advisors. When I met Tim Grover, I asked him, tell me something about Michael Jordan we didn't know.
I love this story.
And he said, here's what you need to know about Jordan, is that he had 2 scorecards. One scorecard in which the team measured him, and then his own personal scorecard of which he measured himself. And if he didn't hit the scorecard he measured himself, the call went straight to Grover to work on those things. And he had exceeded the expectation of the team.
Right.
Right? But his own personal scorecard. And I think about that's really what you're talking about there. So you've coached some of the top people in the world, right? There's common denominators. One I know is going to be preparation. Give the viewer some tips on what you see are common denominators among the bigs. You're like, man, they've got this, and they got this. What is it?
They take advantage of every opportunity they have to get better. Every rep of every set of every workout is a chance for them to improve at their craft, in this case in basketball, and they won't ever let anyone cheat them out of that. For example, if you and I are teammates and we're doing a drill and you're taking it easy on me while I'm trying to score, you're actually cheating me out of an opportunity to get better.
Yeah.
And if I'm a great player, I'll never allow that. I'll get in you
Nice.
to pick up your intensity to push me harder.
Nice.
And then equally, when I'm guarding you, I'm going to come at you with everything that I have because I'm a good teammate and I want to make sure that I'm putting the fire on you so that you'll be the best that you can be. And it's that inverse relationship that is one thing that makes the best the best.
Nice.
The other is they know how to play present and they know how to live in the present moment. And I'll say at 41 years of age, whether we're talking personally or professionally, living present is without question the most challenging part of my life. And living present means three things. One, it means you focus on the next play. Not the one that just happened, because you can't do anything about that one. The next play. If the ref made a bad call, don't worry about it. Next play.
Right.
You missed a wide open shot, it's okay, Michael, next play.
Right.
You know, you turn the ball over. No one wants to turn the ball over, but it's over. You can't undo that turnover. So the quicker you can wipe that slate clean and move to the next play, the better off you'll be. The other is they focus on the only two things in the world they have 100% control over: their attitude and their effort.
Right.
Think about the players that you've coached and how many times they've been worried about things they have no control over. You know, if one of the girls you was coaching, she's worried about her teammates, she's worried about the opponent, she's worried that you're yelling at her, she's worried that her parents are watching from the stand, she's worried that a college scout might be, she's worried about everything that she has 0% control over, instead of the only two things she has 100% control over.
Nice.
And I find when anything in my life starts to get fuzzy or go off the rails, the first thing I go back to is my own attitude and effort.
Right.
And I find that I usually need to tweak one of those two things. And when I do, the problem just goes away.
Yeah.
And then last, which I'm on a crusade to with basketball and in the corporate world, is respecting the process. That believing in and trusting in the process. We live in an outcome world. We all want outcomes. You want to make $1 million, that's an outcome. What's the process required for you to get that $1 million?
Nice.
That's the secret sauce that everyone's looking for.
Yeah.
The problem is, that's not hot. That's not sexy. That's
Yeah.
not cool. What's
Right.
cool is the $1 million.
Right.
What you have to do every single day in order to get that $1 million is not the cool stuff. But if you can respect that process, and that's what I saw today, you broke that down with those financial advisors, was
Right.
how many calls do you need to make? What percentage are you closing? Well, that will give you the math required to determine what you need to do to achieve your goal.
Right.
It's basic math. It goes back to the analytics.
That's right.
But most people don't address those, and then they don't stick to them. They sit back in the hoping and the wanting phase. I want that $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you a proven recipe on how you can get it. Now you just need to do the work.
Right. Well, I call it cotton candy. You know, it tastes good for a second and then it's gone. And the other thing I kept thinking, what you really got me on, is we tell players all the time, focus on the next play, focus on the next play. And then as coaches, we stay mad at the players for the next 3 weeks. And, you know, I think that's a big thing coaches have got to get better at. You know, if you tell them to focus on the next play, you need to focus on the next play.
Yeah.
We've got Alan Stein with us today. We're talking a little bit of everything: performance, confidence, how to play at the highest levels. When we come back in the final segment, we're going to get into missing structure. We're going to get into sport as a business. Okay, because it is big business. At the end of the day, it's big business. People are expected to perform. And then I want to finish up with building a following. There's lots of people that are watching us that are interested in, they're trying to build a following of people. You've been able to do that because you've carved out a niche. You've been very good at it. You've shown a demonstrated capacity to help people with success. So we're going to talk about how to build a following. You're watching Super Coach. I'm Coach Michael Burt. Hey, you. Yes, I'm talking to you. Have you ever had cotton candy? Tastes good for a second and then it all goes away. Well, that's what you got when you came and heard me speak. It tasted good. Tasted real good, didn't it? You liked it. You were interested. And you know what I reminded you of? Your potential. That kinetic energy that's stored inside of you that's waiting to come out. But you know what you know? You don't have a coach in your life. See, I can't really do the work I need to in you until you commit to a coaching program. You see, I define coaching as a set of systematic and consistent behaviors that allows you to do something tomorrow you cannot do today. You got the confidence, you got the energy, you got the swag, but what you don't have are the systems and the structures and the accountability, and that's what my coaching program will provide for you. You need to be in Monster Producer. Monthly coaching, live or online. We send you the replay the very next week. You get a condensed version in the third week. Mastermind in the fourth week. Accountability sessions every single week. Every monster I'm coaching is averaging 43% increase or more. Why are you not in the program? You see, that day I reminded you what a good coach can do for you. Now it's time for you to take action. I can't help you until you commit. Will you sign up for Monster Producer? I know Bill Maddox has been working you. Now it's time for me to work you. Commit to your potential. I'm Coach Michael Burt, and I will see you in Monster Producer. Hey guys, welcome back to Super Coach. And yes, it is true. There really is a Big Kahuna. And he's sitting here beside me today. Big Kahuna's been a big fan of Super Coach for a while. He's in our Monster Producer coaching program. Let me tell you what I like about this guy. He's been a sponsor of this show, is that he's taken something that most people would consider incredibly boring, which is the heating and cooling business, and he's actually given it a personality. Okay, he's the kahuna of comfort. If you don't know what that means expert, right? Expert. And so for him, just call aloha.com. He's been in our coaching program, found me online, got involved, done everything we've told him to do. He's even written his own book. And this guy's a true expert. It doesn't have to be boring. So Big Kahuna, thank you, man, for promoting the show. I even have this hat. I should have wore it today because, man, this is what turns the ladies on, if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, all right? So thank you for coming in today, big guy. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, come on back in, Alan Stein. Big Kahuna expert. I got two Big Kahunas here because I got Alan Stein. Doesn't have to be boring, right? Doesn't have to be boring. And I really do admire this guy because he's you know, like I said, everywhere I go, people ask me, who is that Big Kahuna, man? He gets so much attention. First step of a business, and you're great at this, is getting attention.
Awareness.
Okay, if you're obscure, I don't think people understand. I don't care if you're the best in the world if nobody knows it. Okay,
Person of interest.
I found you from people telling me you got to check out this guy, and then you had me on your show. But you became known to me, and then once you're known to me, I'm following you. I'm seeing what you're putting out. I'm seeing the good stuff you're doing. A lot of people know you're now getting into the corporate arena, which there's tremendous need for what it is you've got. And so I'm glad to be a small part of helping you transition into that. Alan's going to be spending the next day and a half with me. He's actually going on the road with me on the bus.
Yeah.
My daughter calls it a school bus, and we travel on a Mercedes Sprinter. And I say, honey, you're going to be real sad when you get on a real school bus because it ain't got the televisions or the hardwood floors. But nonetheless, all right, let's talk about this. Missing structures. I believe a good coach finds missing structures. Now, that's a lot of people, it's not problems, it's a void, it's a gap, it's a hole, right? And if they could figure it out on their own, they wouldn't need to coach.
Of course.
So a good coach, you've been talked about some of the great coaches you've worked with. They are experts at finding one missing ingredient and tweaking. It's almost like Robbins used to say, a good plastic surgeon never makes more than 2.2 millimeters of change. And they never make more than 7 changes. What's the biggest missing structures you see of people out there who are trying to break through a ceiling?
Is to realize that no matter what their business is, whatever it is that they're doing, they're actually in the human connection business. That everything we do is about connecting with humans. That from a coaching standpoint, you connect first, you coach second. If you flip those two and reverse the order, you're going to have a major problem. Because think about it, if you're my player, I'm going to ask you to make some major sacrifices. I'm going to ask you to get up early. I'm going to ask you to push your mind and your body to a limit. I'm going to ask you to go against your own human DNA, which is to be selfish and look out for yourself. And I'm going to ask you to care about the person to your right and left just as much as you care about yourself. So in order for me to ask you to do those things, you need to know that I care about you. I care about you as a player. I care about you as a person. I'm in this to make sure that you develop to be the best person and player that you're capable of. And that's true in the business world as well. See, I think most people listening would agree that time is our most precious commodity because we can't get it back once it's gone. You can always make more money, but even you, the super coach, can't get time back. Well, if time's our most precious resource, our attention is our #1 currency. Because wherever you put your attention shows what you care about. And I find that a lot of people are not pouring their attention into the people they care about. Whether it's your spouse, it's your child, it's your boss, it's your colleague, it's a client, these people deserve our attention. And when we live in a very digitally distracted world where everybody's spending time focusing on their phone and not focusing on the human being in the room with them, that's a problem. And that's where the coaching and the connection all begins. And I'm a simple guy, very simple guy, and I believe you always go back to the basis. And the fundamental component of anything we're trying to do is increasing your connection, and you increase your connection by showing people you care, and you show them you care by giving them your attention. And I found that's completely flipped the script for me as a father. And being a better father, the moment I decided to not let any distractions get in my way, and when I'm with my children, I'm with them. There's a saying, be where your feet are. Right now, my feet are in this studio with you, which means that's where my mind is. I'm not thinking about my children right now. I'm thinking about you and serving your listenership. Tomorrow, when I get home and I'm with my children, I won't be thinking about this show. I will be 100% devoted to the attention and presence of being with my children. And for me, being where my feet are is the foundation of making sure that we're going to be successful in anything that we do, whether it's on the court or off the court.
Well, you think about this. I always say feed the sheep, you know, and I think a lot of leaders miss this. I noticed it specifically when I retired from coaching. Is that my whole philosophy was built on the whole person theory. A person is made up of a body, a mind, a heart, and a spirit. Each of those 4 parts need to be fed, okay? And so little things that I would do with the players to give them my attention. I would take a walk every day around the football stadium with one player and just talk. What's going on in your life? How can I be a better coach for you, right? We taught every player the 7 habits of highly effective people, the principles of good to great, the 5 dysfunctions of teams in a very systematic way. So I felt like my players were more connected. They were smarter. They had higher buy-in, the intangibles, right? Yes. And that's really what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Is I think when it gets adversarial between the player and the coach, is when we really miss the boat here.
For sure.
Because they are the geese laying the golden eggs.
Yes, they are.
Right? And you get that because where that relationship is adversarial, they won't fight for you.
Right.
You've seen teams quit on their coaches at the worst opportune times.
Happens all the time. It happens at every level.
Yes, and so until coaches get that, and until employers get that, until people that are leadership positions, and it's taken me a long time to get that, to be honest with you. And so I think that's a big one. Now let's finish on this one because I think this is a good one, and everything you said today has been really, really good.
Thank you.
You've built a great following. You're putting something out that people like. You got high numbers of Twitter followers. You're very active on Instagram, very active on everything. I get a lot of your stuff out there. What do you attribute that to? Because to me, as we've tried to build a business, it's very important how many eyeballs we can capture, how many email addresses we can capture, how many people we can get our message to. What do you attribute your follow? Like what is it? If you were coaching a person out there, what do you think they have to do?
The answer is not going to be sexy.
That's right.
But the answer is truthful, and that you put out quality content consistently.
Yes.
Every time before I hit tweet, before I hit post, before I hit share, the filter I run it through is this going to benefit my audience? Right. Is what I'm about to post, and I'll even whittle it down to think of one person. All right, I'm going to think about Coach Michael Burt right now. If I'm going to post this, will this add value to his life, either personally or professionally? If the answer is a resounding yes, then I post it.
Right.
If the answer is a no, then I need to figure out why it's a no. And I found there's kind of a 90-10 rule. 90% of what I post, I want to be valuable to the audience. The other 10% might be promoting something I'm doing, might be a picture of me with my children. I mean, you might not care to see a picture with me and my kids, and that's okay. But if the previous 9 tweets added value to your life, you'll be willing to overlook the one that's a picture of me and my kids at the pool. And that part's cool. And from a social standpoint, that's how you build a following in a community, is you come from a place of service, which is what coaching and leading is all about. It's not about me, it's about my followers. It's not about what I want to post, it's about what they need. Louis C.K., I'm a huge comedy fan, a Louis C.K. fan, and he said something very simple but very poignant, which is, when I tell a joke, if the audience doesn't laugh, then it wasn't funny. It doesn't matter if I think it's funny. It doesn't matter if when I wrote it, I think this is the best joke ever. If they don't laugh, then it's not funny. So I don't put out what I think is valuable. I put out what the audience will think is valuable, or my followers think is valuable. And then you measure that and you engage. See, social media should not be a one-way street. If I get a message from you that says, Alan, I really like that post. Okay, cool. Then I'm going to log in my mind that Michael likes this kind of stuff. And there's going to be a million other Michaels out there that might also resonate with this. And then, of course, go back to the analytics. I study the analytics. I study which posts do well, and then I post more of that type of content. Video's really big on all social platforms. So I've tweaked to the point where I'm posting mostly videos, mostly images. I rarely just post text anymore because it's not resonating with my audience. And it's whatever they need is what I want to deliver.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. One thing that this interview has done for me, and I say this a lot when I'm speaking, thank you for reminding me, is I think it's hypocritical for us as parents to tell our children they have more potential when they're not seeing mom and dad reaching their own potential. And one of the things we've been talking about today is your energy and your passion packaged, and you've helped me to remind me that just because I'm 40, I have a lot of potential. You have a lot of potential. It's not just the athletes we're coaching, the people we're working with, and we really need to take ourselves more serious in how we prepare and how we plan and how serious we study the analytics, right? And not be so loose with that potential.
And we need to model whatever it is that we want folks to see. Modeling is the number one thing that I can provide my children. At some point, my kids are going to tune out whatever I'm saying, but they'll always be cognizant of what I'm doing. Your refrigerator in your house makes a ton of noise, but you don't hear it because you've just tuned it out. But if you walk into an empty house and the only thing plugged in is a refrigerator, you actually hear a very loud humming sound. I don't ever want to be the refrigerator in my kids' lives where they just tune out everything that I'm saying. So I want to make sure I'm modeling what it is that I want to see in them. I'm reinforcing everything that I want to see in them. And the way that I parent is the same way that I coach. The same way that I would treat my own children, who I love very much, is the same way I'd treat you as a friend, is the same way I'd treat you if you were a client or if you were one of my players. And for me, that's why all of this stuff comes full circle, and it transcends, you know, all of these different areas of our life.
Nice, man. Great job, man. I look forward to spending 2 days with you. This guy's really, really good at what he does. He's now speaking in corporate America a lot. He's getting book deals. Going to do some book deals and write some books, get some stuff out there. World class at what he does. You can find more about him. Where do we go?
AlanSteinJr.com and at Alan Stein Jr. on all social handles.
And if you can't find him on social, you got a big problem. You know what I'm saying? Because he's out there everywhere. Guys, we believe everybody needs a coach in life. We believe a good coach can absolutely change your whole life. If you've ever had a good coach, I think you believe that too. Thank you for tuning in to Super Coach, and I can't wait to pump this out to our audience. And we'll see you. We'll be in Knoxville and Chattanooga tomorrow.
Can't wait.
Coaching some monster producers. So God bless you and have a great week. My name is Coach Michael Burt, and I have a very basic premise. I believe everybody needs a coach in life. Every single week I come to you, multiply your life and your money and your business. It's about seeing something through to its logical conclusion. It's about going from a little baby star to a big star and practicing and getting better and digging in and fighting through. I see work as the distribution channel for your God-given talents. How many people believe behind every great number one is a great number two? I wrote that little book called Changing Lives Through Coaching because I believe what? A good coach can change your life.